Hey there, welcome back to Mr. McDougall's math class. So, today's lesson is pretty simple. What we're going to be working on is just understanding the coordinate plane. This is a good introduction to graphing any type of function on a flat surface. So I've got two things here. My y-axis and my x-axis. Just for the sake of things, I'm going to grab one of my other pens and give it a little label. Y and x. What this tells us at first is there are two dimensions. You have your length and you have your width. Most of you are used to the ideas of length and width when you're working with squares, triangles, etc., geometric shapes. This is the beginning of it all. At the very center, we have something called the origin. The origin is always found at 0, 0. Now, what on earth are those numbers? Let's take a look. At 0, 0 is the middle. I'm going to treat each one of these axes like it's a number line. So on the right side, let's give it some arbitrary points. I apologize for my drawings in advance. I became a math teacher so I wouldn't have to do art for the rest of my life. So, backtrack a little bit here. I know that the center point is 0, 0. My point's on the right side. If we treat it like a number line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, negative, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. Alright, now what about the up and down lines? What about that y-axis? Treat it the same way. If you struggle on trying to figure out which side is negative, which side is positive, you're raising up, you're going up higher, you're raising your attitude, if you want to think of it that way. 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Now your graphs are going to vary based on what scale you want to draw them at. You can draw them, you can label these in by 2s, by 4s, by 10s. You can only use one section of the graph. It's pretty much up to your discretion. So, how do I plot points? Well, a coordinate point or an ordered pair looks like this. X, Y. I move on my x-axis first, then my y-axis second. So let's see here. I'm going to pick a point. Let's make up one together. Let's move over 2 units to the right on the x-axis, 2 positive units, and up 2 positive units. That'll bring me at 2, 2. Now, once you start getting used to this, you're not going to need to put these little positive and negative symbols. I like to put them just because it gives me a clear picture of where I'm at. In the same token, let's try negative 1. Let's do 3, just because I can. So negative 3 units, and this looks like it's going all the way to 4. I'll go negative 3 units on the x-axis, then 4 units on the y-axis. Now, Mr. McDougall, what happens if it just stays in that line? Glad you asked. Let's see here. Let's just say we never move on the x-axis. And maybe we go down to -4. Let's bring our point down to this -4 on the y-axis. This tells us that there is no movement on the x-axis. It stays on that origin line. Then it shifts down the y-axis -4 units. The last thing I'm going to show everyone today is the idea, apologize, I'm hoping I'm not getting a cold right now, the labels. You might see something called quadrants. My word quadrant looks like this. Through this word quad, 4, we have 4 sections of this graph. Let me make a little bit of room here. Pretty easy. To know which quadrant you're in, all you're going to need to do is start on the top right. This is quadrant 1. You may see this in the form of Roman numerals. You know, nowadays we're not needing that as much, even though you'll see it in your textbooks. I would love for you to understand these Roman numerals first, but if you really need to adjust to it, you can write Q1. That's what I told my students. Quadrant 1. Now all we need to do is move counterclockwise. So the next will be quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Again, I'll write that in a different color. Those Roman numerals are going to look like this. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Not bad, right? Well, that's all I have for you today. We are just working on naming quadrants and understanding the basics of a graph.